Okay, so welcome back to a new series. This is getting Hayden Wiseman to Euro. So if you don't know who Hayden is, you might have seen him on some his own YouTube, so he's a little bit popular. He does powerlifting, tricking, calisthenics, skateboarding, just all around athletic, very strong man. He's been on Clarence a few times, so I think a lot of people would have known him from that. Hayden got in contact with us a couple of weeks ago, so we all kind of knew Hayden peripherally. We got chatting. He mentioned he was doing some powerlifting. He wanted to do the powerlifting programs. We were like, you've got some big numbers in mind, so we can do a little bit better than this. So we're just coaching Hayden up until the British next May. So we got some big numbers in mind. We won't say the numbers, that's not for us. Hayden, if you want to say what his goals are, they're pretty big though. So you'll have a fair idea as we're going along. But we're just going to cut to a little clip there of Hayden training. We're going to talk about some of the stuff we were doing with him. At the second half of the clip, we're talking to Hayden about his training, how he's finding things. And then the first half, it's us. We're just going to talk through our kind of his, what do you call that weakness thing? You know, you always talk about that, not star weaknesses.
Needs analysis.
We kind of did it like a needs analysis on Hayden's powerlifting problems and strengths. So basically we had one main weakness that we really wanted to fix for Hayden, and that was his quads were particularly weak compared to his back. Now, either his quads are strong, his back was very, very strong, or his back was strong and his quads are a little bit weak, doesn't really matter, but they were a discrepancy between his lower back especially and his quads.
I think as well, especially when you're in a prep phase like this and we have a fair bit of time, there's a lot to be said for some novel stimulus. And Hayden isn't somebody who ever really had high bar back squatted.
Well, a little bit for weightlifting, but not to this intensity, but with big goals with hers.
So the first kind of block of this is really attacking the high bar back squat with volume and intensity, really.
So we're kind of breaking up his training into two big sections. So it's between now and the end of January, and then the end of January then until the competition in May. So two big blocks. So big focus on this one is his weakness of his quads, so really focusing on high bar back squat for reps, fixing the technique, make sure he's loading his quads in the high bar, belt squat attachment once he gets it, goblet squats, and this is also being used as a prep phase, high volume phase, so build some more capacity, do a lot of novel exercises, but also build some more capacity then for the second big main block at the end of January.
Yeah, the kind of rep ranges you're seeing here are 8s, 10s. Did he have 12s at one stage?
I think he had 12s, yeah.
Yeah. The weights aren't huge, but the weights are actually progressing fairly quickly week to week. In terms of technical things, he had some stuff with the rack position on his back and his kind of elbow tracking. You won't see it too much in these videos, but you see it a small bit there.
Yeah, you'll see it on this clip. So his elbows drift forward as he's going down, which is not something you want to do, which means you're lengthening, your mid-trap, your muscles are widening, which is not what you want, basically. When you're in a back squat, you want to keep them very tight and locked in, especially in a high bar back squat. So if that happens, if your elbows do move forward, it means you're not keeping it tight enough, essentially. So we're just like kind of helping with that a little bit. Bench form is very good by Hayden. There's not a lot we need to do. Hayden just needs to bench more, put a lot of work in, and his bench will go up.
Yeah, he's doing some closer grip bench work as well. It's kind of swapping those over and back between like a competition style bench and a close grip bench. This is obviously closer gripping.
For the back squat, for the deadlift, what we're doing is just quite now it's a lot of volume. So he's 30 plus reps in some of the sessions. The weights are sub 200 or barely around 200 in the coming weeks. So we're just building up a lot of volume with those. Because he's sumo deadlifts and he's a cheater, we need to make his quads quite strong, so his back takes over a lot in his sumo deadlift, and it's something we don't want to do. So we want to make sure it's his prime movers or his legs, and you get into a good position and push from the floor with his quads. So it will have an effect on his low bar back squat, which he uses quite a weightlifting with stance in his low bar back squat. So that will help in two ways. So it will help his low bar back squat and it will help his sumo deadlift. Some of the assistance exercises he's doing is just real general body weight movement kind of stuff. It's like toes to bar, knees to bar. He's unbelievably
jacked.
So jacked. It's not even funny how jacked he is. So we're stuff like inchworms. What else have we got in there?
Inchworms, side planks, normal planks, weighted planks, V-ups, Russian twists, hanging leg raises, hanging knee raises, obviously chin ups. This is some warm up stuff. And then we have incline bench pressing or an incline press.
We'd see it shoulder press as well. So he's again just novel stimulus for his pressing. He can bench a lot, and he has done in the past to make good progress without getting injured. But we obviously don't want to go from 4 or 5 times a week benching to where do you go from that, you know? So we want to leave a lot of room to grow, especially in the prep phase. So we're doing a lot of different variants. So he's benching twice a week, but he's doing shoulder press and incline bench press. So they're very non-specific, but they'll still help his bench and build some more capacity and build more muscle. Not that he needs it. I think he's a little bit overweight at the moment, so he's like 77 or 8, and his class is 75, but that won't be too much of an issue for him.
No.
Then a lot of unilateral work, especially for powerlifters, can never go wrong with doing more unilateral work.
The unilateral work as well is something you probably don't see a lot of the time when you're looking at like moderate to good level powerlifters. Most of the time you see them training, you see them doing like the bigger lifts, you see them doing bigger accessory lifts. But this, like the planks, the lunges, all that shit is really where you'll make a lot of your gravy.
A good tip for the... No, I'm not going to say that. A good tip for your unilateral work when you're doing your powerlifting unilateral work assistance is make it very, very high reps. So don't come at it like you would kind of 5x5 or less reps, you know. A lot of times the weight isn't strong enough to do any productive training stimulus realistically. Like, so if you're doing split lunges there, Hayden was doing with like 40 or 45 kilos. If he just done sets of 5 and then tried to progress and add a little bit of weight each week, is realistically he's not going to get to a weight that's anyway significant until he gets to something like 110, 120 kilos on his lunges, you know.
Absolutely.
So you want to make those reps very, very high in the unilateral work, so you get a good stimulus. They're not really for strength as such. They're very, very good for, you know, coordination, some kind of skill adaptation, but as well hypertrophy as well. Also, these Russian twists are fucking murder. They're so hard.
He could be going deeper and lower on those.
Way deeper, yeah.
We need to say that. But they're very, very difficult.
Yeah.
These are the things that he's struggling with. And like, he's a fairly accomplished athlete. So he's trained a lot. He's trained a lot of different modalities. But the anti-rotation work is something he hasn't done too much of. And it is what he, when we catch up with him later on, the kind of general core and the general core, especially anti-rotation stuff, he does struggle with.
He's quite stiff in that range of motion. I assume it's because he's so jacked.
Yeah.
That must be the only answer. And what are those things on his stomach? Those kind of ridge things?
Abdominals?
Never heard of them. Are they supposed to show like that?
No, I think there's something wrong with him.
Very strange.
I've never seen them before.
So Hayden is squatting in his... Sometimes he's doing no sleeves on his squats. Sometimes he's doing his squats in his his weighting shoes, or as part of some I call them his squat shoes. So he's got Addy powers on there. We're specifying when he should and shouldn't use these, so get a particular stimulus. He's not decided yet. Will he be doing his low bar in his shoes, or will he be doing with flats? We'll see how that progresses. This is kind of what the first block of training is to try out things a little bit so we can nail it down. And then he's deadlifting. He's really trying to focus on using the hook grip. So stay tuned for a little conversation with Hayden now in the second part. Just talk about how he's finding training going. And if you like the series, let us know if it's interesting. Like, thumbs up, etc. The audio quality will be better on our conversation with Hayden the next time, we promise. Normally we've good audio quality, but just not right now.
So how's the volume going? Perfect.
Yeah, this should be good.
So how's the volume going?
Fine. It feels kind of normal. That's about how much I normally do. Probably the worst program I did was Smolov, but I handled that fine and recovered fine. So
Yeah.
shorter than normal for me. Like normally, so before I was doing 10 sets on my bench days, and now it's like normally 5 or 6. So it's fine. I don't ache after the sessions, other than occasionally I'll feel my abs a little bit if I've done,
Perfect.
you know, like 60 Russian twists or whatever.
How are you finding all the assistance exercises?
Yeah, good. Like I'm noticing a big improvement in them week to week. I think just because I'm getting like noob gains because I never do them. But yeah, so I'm like, one session, like it will be hard, and then the next session, the weight will go up, the reps will go up, but it feels easier. So I think those are good.
Yeah, no, that is the definition of low hanging fruit. Is just like get as many new gains on those as possible. Especially like they'll make you a hell of a lot stronger to handle some volume in a few weeks' time.
What's the story with your arms, Stephen? What the fuck is going on?
How are you so vascular?
Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know. It's ridiculous, especially like in winter, it's not as bad, but in summer, when the temperature's hot, my blood just comes to the surface even more. It's super bad. I'm really tempted to try and just do like an arm pump one day and put like one of those tourniquet things on and just see how bad it gets. Just take a picture.
Yeah, it would be
After the chin-ups this week, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Those chin-ups were hard. I jumped from 10 reps last week to 15 this week.
Yeah. I just kind of assumed you'd be pretty proficient at chin-ups for some reason.
Yeah.
I used to be. I used to do them all the time when I was doing calisthenics. I could do like sets of 30.
Yeah.
But now it's hard. But yeah, I just AMRAP them if I fail anything.
That's what we assumed from the calisthenics. We thought you'd be like repping out chin-ups, no problem.
It will come back. Now I'm doing chin-ups.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is there any of the working sets that you're finding very hard or you're failing?
Let me get my thing because I make notes on it. Okay. So the squats are all fine. Incline bench press. I think I'm getting noob gains again because the first week it was like really hard, and I nearly failed the last week. But I haven't failed anything since. But that's still pretty hard. But it's getting easier. Seated strict press, similar story, but not as bad. Like I can manage that. The IYTWS things, I can do it with the 2.5 kilo plate, but not the 5 kilo plate. So I'm going to up that to I'm going to use the fractional plates. So instead of 2.5, I'll do like 3.5 or whatever, just so I'm upping it each week. Side plank, I find really hard. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's probably normal plank's fine. I can do 90 seconds, no problem. As soon as I do the side plank, after about 20 seconds, my shoulder's wobbling. And it's only on one side. So it's when my right hand is down that it's hard. Okay. When I'm supporting my left hand, it's kind of easy. So I don't know what that's about.
Which side did you injure your back on recently, a few weeks ago?
It was the right side, yeah.
Okay. So they were good one for highlighting that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it might be that. But I don't have any back pain in general anymore.
Yeah.
So I think at first I found the goblet squats pretty hard, but they're getting easier now. Yeah. And the sideline lunges. And then everything else is fine, really.
Any sign of your belt squat detachment yet?
I was then actually checking it. It should be arriving this week or next week.
Sweet.
That'd be ideal now if it was there, because then we can kind of, you got the kind of newbie gains on the goblet squats, so then you could kind of move into the heavier with the belt squats.
Yeah.
So we're just saying, you're kind of mentioning you kind of lost a little bit of, you're worried you want to lose a bit of practice with the low bar because you're doing so much high bar at the moment. But once we kind of back in the high bar, if you had your belt squat attachment, because, your quads would be kind of the weaker point of your lifts, you could kind of supplement a lot of the high bar squats with the belt squats, and you could push the low bar a lot, the ideal scenario for that.
Yeah.
I'm quite liking high bar at the minute now, though. Now I'm in the third week.
Yeah.
And I'm used to it. The only problem is, the weight goes on my toes at the bottom. I think that's just my coordination from low bar squats where the bar's a bit further back.
Yeah.
I have to lean forward more to keep it midfoot. So, yeah, I can kind of fix it on the first half of a set and kind of try and put the weight a bit more towards my heels. But then as I get deeper in the set, that's when the weaknesses come out and I'll, fall forward a bit. The safety squat bar might be good for that as well, because I've got a safety squat bar. Because it's cambered forward, if you lean at all, it will just drag you down. So you have to keep good form.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you want to program that at any point.
They're nice for halfway in between the front squat and the back squat. So it might be nice. We might just add those in to maintain some quad stimulus. We were talking about 180 for 10, but realistically, it's probably going to be more than 180 for 10 now.
Yeah.
By what time scale? Because that seems that would be a huge PB if I did that.
Yeah, I think it will be a bit more than that. So it'll probably be closer to 190 for 10.
You'd be surprised how fast you get better at 10s, especially in the high bar squat. And a lot of times with 10s and high bar, so you'll do the first rep, but if you're doing a set of 5, and then you do the first rep, you're like, there's no way I could do 10. But then once you actually come into with the mindset you could do 10, you'd be surprised what you can actually do for that 10. Because you're doing 5 sets of 10, a 133 or 130 something at the moment. So and they're very, even the last that you sent us looked pretty routine. It didn't look like you were struggling. Do you feel more of a pump, or is it more of a, kind of an aerobic kind of demand?
Yeah, I think so. It's only after the set when I stop, then I'll start heavy breathing. But during the set, it's fine. It's not easy. It's moderately hard, but it's not close to failure yet. And I've got 140 this week, I think, or next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, next week 140 for 8. I think that'll be fine. that'll be a good measure, because 140 is normally where it starts to feel a bit more of a struggle when I used to do low bar. So
See, like in the same way where you get noob gains with your goblet squats, and you will get them with belt squats as well, as like you'll get them with 10s and with 8s that you wouldn't, like you've probably never realized any of your potential in those kind of high rep ranges. And if we can realize some of that potential early on, it'll make a big difference later down the road.
yeah, so what's like the long-term plan up to January? Is it going to be a lot of volume and then it taper down and be more intense, or is it going to be like a block up to
We'll do a
January and then
end of January, just to see, just like a small realization phase, the end of January, and then we'll kind of go for a more longer, like a long-term plan after that.
So after next week, so once week 4 is done, we'll add back in the low bar squats. You can start kind of practicing again, but it'll be probably 5s is the highest we'll go with that, but we'll still keep the reps, I think, pretty high with the high bar squat for a little bit. But then once the second kind of block of training next, say at the end of January, it'll be a lot less high bar. It'll be a lot more not generic, or less specific kind of quad squats. So like your belt squats and your safety bar squat. It'll be a lot of high bar work then, but we'll keep some of. So that's why we're kind of pushing that high bar, say like 10s at the moment, get that done soon kind of, and then you've a lot of room then, like fit to saying after then with the low bar to go, because you've got some big numbers in mind, obviously.
Yeah. At the moment, we just want to make that base, like really focus on high volume stuff, get you a really good work capacity. So then it means we can push the intensity a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
January comes around. Are
we taking the box? Remember, so you said to us that you like challenge yourself per week or per session. There was stuff in it that you liked. You like to have a kind of a small goal per session. Like, are the sets of 10 taking that box? Or like,
yeah, at the minute it's fine because everything's still quite new. Like 4 weeks isn't that long on a program because there's all this new stuff in here.
Yeah.
A bit fresh. And then I guess as the weights go up over the weeks, the challenge will come in then. So it's fine. I am still enjoying every session, so that's fine.